We are a much more visual culture than the Elizabethans were. We say we're going to see a concert. The Elizabethans would say we're going to hear a play. The word audience originated from a state of hearing something. So I would suggest that Shakespearean comedy works more on the sense of sound than it does on the visual sense. Now, slapstick was being developed in Italy at about the same time, so you do get some visual humor in Shakespeare, and I'm loath to reduce this to a binary, but in terms of degrees, Shakespeare is more about the sense of hearing in terms of the jokes. As far as similarities between Shakespearean comedy and modern comedy, there are a lot. As much as the Elizabethans relished language more than we do, we still love wordplay, we still love puns. There are tons of puns in Shakespeare. We, with modern comedy, are a little bit more all in with political satire. That was not quite as safe in Shakespeare's time, but you still get humor as a mechanism for subverting authority. King Lear's Fool is a walking episode of Royal Canadian Air Farce. We use humor to cope. You find that in Shakespeare too. The main soliloquies, the set speeches that you all know, often it's a character who is deeply, intensely in a situation and really feeling it, but also at the same time is standing outside of their situation, sending it up. The I Left No Ring with Her speech by Viola is a great example of that from Twelfth Night. And we still do that very much. We also, wordplay, rhetoric, particularly antithesis, that's a big one that we still use a lot without, I think, really being aware that we're doing it. Antithesis being the setting of one idea against another idea, or one word against another word in order to prove a point. Often in Shakespeare, antithesis is used in verbal jousting. So one character says something, and then the other character picks up on a specific word and sort of turns it around to attempt to put the other character out of countenance. Beatrice and Benedict have a lot of speeches where they're using antithesis. Petruchio and Kate in Taming of the Shrew is another great example. Specifically, Titus Andronicus, you have Chiron. He confronts Aaron, his mother's lover, and says, "Thou hast undone our mother," to which Aaron replies, "Villain, I have done thy mother." Done is set against undone. And also, 400-year-old your mom joke, to give you an idea of the accessibility that we're dealing with Shakespeare. So, for getting laughs consistently with Shakespeare, what we have going for us is that in Shakespeare there is no fourth wall. The characters are constantly addressing the audience, and audiences love being addressed directly. They love being part of the scene. So you have as many scene partners as is allowed by fire regulations. And if you're connecting with the audience every night, because it's their first time seeing it, it's your first time interacting with those scene partners specifically, that will help. Connection is a big thing. We've all had the experience of watching Shakespeare, and for a while your eyes kind of glaze over. And I think what is happening when that happens is the actors are no longer making moment-to-moment discoveries. They're just reciting the text. They're not coining it as the words come to them. They're not finding the need for the specific language that they're using. So making moment-to-moment discoveries, when actors are doing that, that's when I'm engaged. And that's important with comedy, it's important with anything in Shakespeare. Acting on the line is another thing. If you know, Candace, tell me I suck.
You suck.
Oh, fie on thee! Tell me I suck again.
You really suck.
Fie on thee! So build your reaction into the actual text. What that will do is earn pauses that you do take, and the play won't be 5 hours long, as our esteemed director Christopher Weddle likes to point out. and somewhat paradoxically, take your time. If you don't relish the language, the audience won't. This is heightened text and requires a heightened acting approach that's married with our more naturalistic modern tradition. If I might offer an anecdote to close. Challenging as this space is, with this particular text that we're doing, the rewards are also very, very high. My favorite moment that I've ever had acting on stage was in this festival doing Midsummer Night's Dream. I was playing Peter Quince, and I had a short monologue in which I was introducing Pyramus and Thisbe, which is the play within the play. And poor Peter Quince isn't very bright, and he gets off track of this monologue that he's supposed to have memorized. And so all the syntax and punctuation is completely off kilter. So what he ends up saying, part of it is, "Consider then, we come but in despite we do not come. As minding to contest you, our true intent is. All for your delight we are not here." And in this one particular performance, there was this group of kids who couldn't have been more than 10 years old, and they were seated in the front row about 6 feet from me. And throughout this entire speech, they're in hysterics. They're completely with me, and they're laughing so hard at what is a 400-year-old language joke being told to them, these kids in 2015, through me, by Shakespeare. And I have never felt so simultaneously significant and insignificant. And I have the festival to thank for that.